A lilac is also a plant that around here in the Pacific Northwest we put in the tree-like category. Around here we prune them like little trees, which is to say open, delicate branch structure full of wonderful smelling blooms. Isn't that picture just evocative? You just want to go stuff your nose inside those because the smell of lilacs, or as some people say, lilacs, those are people from France. People from France have aunts who have lilacs. Around here, people from France have lilacs. A wonderful garden plant. Unfortunately, they sometimes get leaf cruds, another technical term from the offices of plant amnesty. So it's nice to have your lilac someplace you can smell it and see it in the spring, but isn't right in front of the front door for the rest of the year. This is a lilac, and this is how they look after a couple of years of being in the ground. We're liking it a lot. They do continue to grow up and have blooms, and they don't really stop when you want them to. They just keep growing. And they can get to be quite large. In fact, they turn into little lilac trees. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you should know that this is what your lilac wants to be, most of them anyway. Some of them are genetically programmed to get bigger than others. There's a little teeny tiny one called Miss Kim, but it doesn't really have the impressive blossoms. This is incorrect pruning of your lilac. You don't want to just whack it back. People are always complaining that their lilac's too big and they want to bring it down so that they can enjoy the blooms. And really all you need to do is get a pole pruner and go out and whack a bunch of them every spring and bring them inside and put them in a vase to enjoy them. Nobody complains that their cherry tree or their magnolia is too tall, but they're always complaining that their lilacs are too tall. And as with most plants, it's difficult to get complete control over the size. Even if you know how to prune well, you can get into trouble. I should say that there's more than one way to prune a lilac. Some people in the Midwest prune them sort of like a cane grower, sort of like a forsythia, which is to say they cut trunks or canes, the biggest ones, a few of them, every year to the ground, by which I mean a couple inches off the ground. And they let those new shoots grow up, which they look like suckers to begin with, but then they fatten up and turn into new canes. And then you have sort of a shorter, fatter, thicker shrub, but it doesn't have that beautiful branch structure that the tall ones have. There's sort of a natural law that you can have a tall, open, delicate shrub or a short, fat, thick shrub. What you can't have is a short, open, delicate shrub. Every time you shorten something, it thickens up. That's just something to know. And I should also mention that a lot of books recommend that you take out the suckers at the base every year. And I got to tell you, I don't think those people actually spend any time in the garden, because when I take out all those suckers at the base, I get more suckers. And I take those out and I get more and more. And after a couple years, you're starting to wonder, what the heck are you doing? Which is when I devised the open thicket method of lilac management, where you just weed it out nicely and pretend you want it to be that way. And I suspect that those plants that do not have root suckers are just ones that have been left alone for a long time, and a certain number of them turn into the main trunks, and the other ones just kind of pune out and get shaded out. And then you have the tree like lilac that you always desired. This is what I mean by a tree like lilac. This is a client of mine, and it's quite lovely, but you'll notice it's already starting to lean. Another problem with lilacs is when they get old, they get hollow and they start to fall over. And of this lilac hedge, we would just cut out some of the worst ones and let the suckers regrow from the base and turn into the new lilac hedge. Here's a cut on a lilac. I tend not to cut as deeply as I do some of the other plants that are radically renovated because I don't know why. I don't know what the feedback mechanism is, but I cut them up a little bit higher and you can see the regrowth, 1 year's worth of regrowth. It will be growing very fast and be 7 feet tall again in almost no time. But at least you'll be able to park your car now because there isn't a cane leaning over the driveway, a cane or a trunk. Some people really like that open, delicate branched tree-like look, and they want to prevent their trunk or cane from completely lying down. So what they do is they prop it up, and some people use the tacky 2x4, and other people use a tasteful stick or actually forked branch, and prop it up that way, which then looks a little more attractive. So here you can see the regrowing suckers coming up from the base that can turn into the new replacement canes.